Hi, everybody. Welcome in. So we had class yesterday, official class, session 3. Today is an overview, kind of preparing you for how this year is going to come together. One of the things I proposed in developing 2022 version of Soul Shift is that in teaching you what your psychic and your intuitive gifts are, that I would also be teaching you something about how you manifest. And people have been like, what is the relationship between how you know things and how you manifest things? So this worksheet is great to see you guys again, by the way. Did you miss us?
It's good to see you guys.
You've seen so much of us, right? Because we had SGTV and then we had class and now we're here. But anyway, we're always happy to see you. This worksheet you have, it's in your classroom. And so, but I am going to go through this with you, kind of step by step, and literally going to read it to you and then see if you have questions. We did also ask about any questions you might have in our Facebook group, and we will share some of those questions here and then answer them for you as well. Claire forgot her laptop.
What? That means Claire's been getting no work done for approximately the last 9 minutes.
Bye! You caught me! It's like a mom, you know what I mean? Like, how dare you have 9 minutes to yourself, right?
I was in a meeting, just so you know.
We're all good.
You caught me.
These chairs are from Amazon. Aren't they cute?
They're cute, and we don't slip
They're
and
real comfy.
slide all over the place.
They're really comfy.
I personally feel a lot safer.
It's so weird.
And I feel like Athena is safer because I'm not slip sliding around.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, I think you're right. This is better cold.
It's better cold. Just put it in the damn fridge. And then go and get one when you need one. I'm going to put a mini fridge under your desk. Okay. Sidebar conversation. Claire's so fun. Okay, so I'm going to walk through this with you, see which questions you have. We'll go over questions from the group. You don't have any more questions? Great. If you do, we will stay in chit-chat and see where we go. Okay? So here's what the worksheet says. If you recall the Hermetic principles, which I've taught you 14 times, right? These are the principles. You don't have to leave. It's weird. The Hermetic principles govern and explain how the universe of energy operates on the material and the spiritual planes. So the Hermetic principles are the energetic laws or principles that govern how energy works in the universe, okay? The first of those Hermetic principles says the all is mind. It's the principle of mentalism. And, well, you know, I've always said this about Hermetic principles. They seem so simple, right? Like common wisdom, like doesn't everybody know that, you know, everything's mental? But they seem superficial. Okay, and Alexis and Karen, by the way, will guide you about where to find your worksheets. The Hermetic principles seem superficial until you really drop into them and think about what that means, right? Everything in our universe begins as an idea, or as a thought form, or a form of information that we are creating, ideating, processing, right? It all begins internal to us, as a knowing, as an idea, and then we take that information and we activate it, right? And you know, we can talk more about manifestation, and we will through the year, about how we activate these gifts. I'm giving you some guidance on that today. So if you think about it, our thoughts and our desires are powered and influenced by our intuition. We all, you and me both, we manifest by accessing intuitive information, right? And then channeling that wisdom into physical form. This is how everybody manifests, but they don't necessarily think of it like that, right? Like when you talk to really powerful muggles in this world who don't believe in energy, don't understand energy, aren't into spirituality, but are really great manifestors, they will say, you know, I focus on what I want, and I don't give up, I'm relentless, and I just know what I'm supposed to create, I know what I'm supposed to build, I know I've seen everybody from fashion designers to real estate developers, people who really are influential and have made amazing things happen with their lives. and across every walk of life. And they will all say, I just know what to do. I know how to do it. I focus all my energy. You know, I'm never distracted. I never give up. These are all energetic statements. They just know what to do and they just don't give up, right? Which means they know how to tap into their intuition and they know how to hold a vibration. They're just not using the same language that you and I use, okay? So therefore, by learning which of your intuitive gifts are your strongest this year in Soul Shift, which is why you're here, you are also learning how you manifest. Because you are learning how you know things, and how you know things is how you build things. So I'm taking you really down to kind of the core essence of it. And a lot of you are coaches. I mean, how many of you in the feed either teach or coach or lead people in some capacity, you know, where you are helping them through a journey of self-discovery and improvement? If you're a coach of any kind, my hope and my intention is that after this year, part of what you're going to use from this year to help and support people, and that also includes being a parent, okay? Because our job as parents is also to help our children learn how they learn and how they build, right? And to get them to hone those skills. And so my hope after this year is you'll be working with a client and you'll say, you know, I think you have this gift. And the client can say, oh, I never thought about it that way. And it's like, yeah, that's actually how, that's your how. That's how you're getting information. I get information this way, she gets information that way, but you get information this way. Have you noticed it? I really haven't. So how could I work with that? And then through this year, you're going to learn 3 keys for each of the 12 gifts. So 36 different ways to activate these psychic and intuitive senses to help you manifest more effectively. Okay? So yeah, and when I go through these tonight, you're probably going to think about how you parent, how you show up as a friend, right? Because I also consider myself a coach sometimes for my friends, right? Helping them through complex challenges and situations that they face, right? Okay. If you're clairaudient, what this means is you are more likely to know or access wisdom about what to do, build, and create through your sense of hearing. If you're clairsentient, you're more likely just to know what to do without even knowing how you know, right? And so people might say, well, I've been doing that all my life, but that is a psychic gift. Not everybody just knows things. If you've grown up clairsentient, then you've taken this for granted probably. And that's why you come into a program like this and you're like, holy shit, I'm actually special. This isn't something everybody does. And it also helps you be more patient with people because, you know, if you're coaching somebody, you don't want to expect that all your clients are going to be clairaudient just because you are, right? You want to be able to discern that they've got other gifts. So they may not be clairaudient, but they may have all these other things happening. These psychic senses become your superpowers, and many of you become coaches along the way, teaching others how to manifest through their spiritual senses. This year, as part of your membership in the Soulship program, you're developing a personal manifestation blueprint based on the strength of your intuitive gifts. A clairaudient psychocartographer with excellent skills in discernment, okay, might manifest massive success in real estate or receive guidance through their hearing about where to move in order to be successful, and then validate that wisdom through their connection to land and their ability to read the energies of place and space. Right? So at the end of the year, if you are a clairaudient psychocartographer with discernment, that also becomes not just your blueprint, but kind of your title. So when people come to work with you and they go, so what are you? That sounds much more interesting to me than I'm a psychic or I'm a coach. If I'm gonna work with real estate developers and I identify myself as an intuitive psychocartographer who could actually help them run cartographic charts and figure out where they should be developing and building land, do you see how much more rich that is? There's a lot more texture to that awareness that you have about yourself, and could actually lead you to a whole new career path that you hadn't thought about before. And I'm going to tell you what else. This is also going to differentiate you. How many card readers do you know? A lot. How many coaches do you know? A lot. How many life coaches do you know? A lot. How many intuitive psychocartographers or clairaudient or clairsentient psychocartographers do you know? I don't know any. So that tells me you've got a really interesting skill set that I'm not familiar with, and now you've got my attention and my interest, right? Okay. So if you go down to where it says exercise, these are the intuitive gifts we've covered so far, right? Because we've now had 4 months of Soul Shift together. I want you to read the description for each one and then circle the ones that resonate with you most. I don't expect you're going to circle all 3 for all 4, okay? You might circle one thing for one and 2 things for another, and then nothing for a third one because it's just not accurate for you. Remember that we are only 1/3 of the way through this curriculum. We still have, I'm going to meet with you again 4 months from this week to go over the next 4 gifts. And then I'm going to meet with you again in December, and we're going to do a roundup and a review, and then you're going to get your own sort of plan, that we'll put the pieces together and say, this is what I am. At the end of this 12 months, I can say, this is me. And not only is it how I manifest, but it's what I give to the world. This is your gift. This mix of these gifts that you're going to put together. Okay? So, under Keys of Discernment, remember in January, it feels like a year ago, we were studying the intuitive gift of discernment, right? And so the 3 keys here are, if this is your primary gift, you have right place, right time energy. You show up exactly where you need to be, and it's uncanny for you probably. People who have this gift, they often have these like divine, crazy synchronicities. Like, oh, if I hadn't been here at this time, I wouldn't have met you, and if I hadn't met you, then I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Have you ever had that happen to you? It doesn't happen to me all the time, but it's happened enough where like I've experienced it. And you feel like you have this this ability to just be where you need to be at the right time with the right people. Now, ultimately, what is that? That's discernment, right? Should I go here now, right? And really, being mindful and thoughtful about the decisions and choices that you make. And this is where I taught you about see the soul, not the role, right? So someone with the gift of discernment, a person could come up to them and offer them an opportunity or ask them to do something, and the person would see the role and not the soul and say, oh, I don't think that's for me. Whereas somebody with discernment would look past the role, see the soul, and go, there's something about this person, I feel like I should listen to them. It has nothing to do with their job or anything like that, but there's something behind. I'm scratching behind the surface with my gift, and I can tell there's something here. I'm going to follow it. That's discernment. Because people who don't have this gift, if the package doesn't look right, they won't respond to the invitation. You know what I mean? They can't differentiate or distinguish between the energy of something and the physicality of something. Does that make sense? The second one is you read people accurately. You can sense energy around opportunities and situations because you see the soul, not the role. So your keen ability to not just understand people, but understand dynamics and situations and opportunities, right? Again, there's something here, right? And it's because I'm looking beyond the surface. I'm not just paying attention to what's obvious and right in my face. I'm sort of sensing and feeling into. But not everybody has this. A lot of you do, I know, but it is still a gift that most people are missing. The third one is you know when to make a move and when to wait. And your sense of timing is crazy. If this is your primary gift, people have probably said that to you over the course of your life. Like, what's with you and your timing? It's like, because again, that discernment piece is all about knowing, is it now or is it later? And then people for whom this is the true gift follow that. They don't ever go, well, I think it's the right time. There's not a lot of second guessing when it comes to discernment. It's either yes or no. And oftentimes you can't explain why it's a yes or no, but there's an energy that you're sensing that other people would overlook. Okay, so reading people, divine timing. Now, I think that all of these are still gifts that you can develop. If you really want to build discernment, part of the process, and I gave you a lot of practical tools and techniques in January, and we talked about this extensively, like how to do this. But it is something mostly through practice, a skill that you can build. The reason most people don't want to is people actually find a lot of odd comfort in judging a book by its cover. It's just easier that way. It actually takes work to want to understand a person or a situation, or you know what I mean? So it is easier just to not practice discernment. That's why I think most people choose to ignore some of those synchronicities and energies and opportunity. You know what I mean? I think they choose to ignore it because it's hard not to. But there's value in that because you end up making better choices and your outcomes tend to be better. So the second psychic gift in February was psychometry. That's the art of reading energy on objects, right? And things that people have held, jewelry. These are people who either love antique stores or can't go near them, right? Because that's just nothing but a space vibrating with energy, right? And people's connection and sometimes as a psychometrist, you can often feel when people didn't want to let something go. Pawn shops are hard AF for me. Have you ever been in a pawn shop before?
You know, I actually haven't.
Really?
I've never been in a pawn shop before.
The only reason I've been in them is partly out of curiosity, like in places like Vegas and stuff. It is interesting. When I lived in San Diego, they had gorgeous jewelry. And this one pawn shop was in this really wealthy area of San Diego, known as Rancho Santa Fe. It was like kind of on the edges of that. And it was like just estate jewelry. And it was just a kind of a fun, interesting place to go and look. But if people have jewelry at a pawn shop, there's usually a really tragic story around it. Like, you know, losing everything and having to sell their jewelry to eat their food. You know what I mean? Like usually there's a sad reason behind why something is at a pawn shop. I used to think it'd be really fun if you had all the money in the world to go into a pawn shop, buy all the jewelry, and return it to the people who brought it. I actually had that thought. Can you imagine if somebody showed up at your door and said, I bought this for you. I don't know you, but I know you took this to the store and maybe you'd like it back, right? Anyway, so if you are a psychometrist, you can read the energy of objects and sense their alignment or lack thereof to you or someone else, right? A psychometrist is really good at knowing, you know, whether to buy something, even a crystal or a psychic tool or an intuitive tool. You know, it's like you can sense whether the energy is right for you or not. You can also sense when you're touching something what its origin story is, right? And the energy lines, you can track those through an object. So that is a very important gift. You receive the energy of history and place, which when touching an item from that place, which may lead you to clues about your path and your purpose, right? You could be touching something and all of a sudden images of India or energy of India comes to you and it's like, oh, all of a sudden it's weird. I feel like I need to research like the Taj Mahal. And then you start going down that rabbit hole and it leads you to some other thing. And I've seen those kind of interesting synchronicities happen just from people touching and connecting with objects. You also sense the needs and the needs of others when you serve them or create products for them to use, creating a time link between your energy and theirs. It's a really beautiful thing when someone creates something for someone else with intention and is able to, through their hands, translate that energy. It's one of the reasons why I always prefer handmade gifts. I mean, not that non-handmade gifts aren't special, and especially when they're given with intention, but I mean, handmade anything, don't you think, has energy? I can feel the energy of my kids. I was going back through I have a little like Tupperware of some of their art from when they were little. I was going through it this weekend and like, I mean, just by touching their art, it was right back, 10, 15 years ago when they were just babies making all these things, right? Okay, so circle those as relevant. The opposite also is true. I think I shared this with you, but this meme, I keep thinking about it. It says, try not to eat food from made by people who hate their job. Oh. And I guess I never thought about it like that. And I actually was reflecting on it because in the food service industry, so many people who are working in the food service industry right now don't want to be. So there was part of me that was like, did a happy person make my sandwich today? You know what I mean? Maybe I should make my own sandwich. So the same is also true. I always have a kind of a policy of like not cooking and not making things and not if my energy is not right. because I know I'm putting that energy into whatever I do. So if my energy isn't right, I will pause, stop, drop, and roll until I can get into the right headspace to do it, because your imprint, right? Psychometrists really understand the importance of imprinting, both imprinting done by other people onto objects at other times, and also their imprinting onto their objects at a particular time, right? So, isn't this interesting? Yeah, don't cook angry, don't write angry, don't. It's really important. It's really important. And I'm a hot, fiery, double fire situation sometimes. That's what the sacred pause is all about. You know, it's like wait till the energy's right. Okay. The third gift from March, which again seems like a year ago. Keys of energetic blockage removal, right? We went to Mexico together and we talked about this as a gift of being able to read where energy is stuck, sense when it's stuck. I get it through my solar plexus. If there's stuck energy, I get nauseous and my stomach hurts. Almost like I ate something bad or like I just ate a huge meal. Like I will literally feel full of whatever the blockage is until it's cleared. But different people read the energy differently and they receive the energy differently, and there's no right or wrong, right? It's just how you do it. So if this is your primary gift, you identify blockages in the energy field and in the field of others, and you know how to clear them. Why is this important in manifestation? In order to manifest, how many blockages can you have? Right? Very few. Manifestation is actually the act of energetically removing obstacles and blockages to what you want to create. So, in a way, this is probably the most important. Not enough people spend enough time actively trying to understand where their blockage is so that they can reroute and overcome it. And again, manifestation is nothing more than getting the energy flowing between you and your goal. So if the energy is not flowing, there's a reason. And if you can't figure out what that blockage is, it's like people who tell me, like, I've been trying to manifest, a speedboat, whatever, for 10 years. And do I have a speedboat? No. And I'm like, okay, you need to identify where the blockage is. The blockage could be you don't get a speedboat because the universe knows there's going to be a problem with it and doesn't want you to go through that. That could be the blockage. The blockage could be subconsciously you don't feel like you're worthy of it. And so that's your energetic blockage. You want it, but you're not sure you're worthy of it. Or you think people are going to judge you for it and you're worried about their reaction, and that's going to block it. Right? There's 1,000 reasons why we don't manifest. That one of the main reasons is timeline. We want it when we want it, and the universe has a plan. So it's like we're in this constant battle between our time and, my time and thy time, as they say. But once it clears, like Leanna is saying, and helping other people do this, once again, I'm not necessarily here to teach you these things so that you can go and make a living doing them. A lot of you are here for personal growth and enjoyment. Having said that, how valuable is it to you to have someone work with you who can listen to you and listen to your stories, ask you big questions, get you to provide them with big answers, sift and sort through all of that and say, I think I understand where the blockage is. And to be able to discern that through just your knowing, being able to sense the energy, right? Being able to use your tools to move the energy on their behalf, to do some remote healing and to use your Vogel and to use your obsidian and to spin the energy through and move the energy around to open the channel, right? Or to narrow a cord to something that's standing between them and what they want to create. Like this is a career for me. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't my career, but it's part of my career. I teach you how to do it. But could you go and do this for yourself? Yes. And again, this isn't your only gift. So you could say, you have to come up with a kind of a phrase for that. But I clear energetic blockages through A, B, and C, whatever your other psychic gifts are, right? And you should be practicing. I mean, that's the other thing. Again, every intuitive gift gets stronger when you practice. Just like muscles atrophy, right? It's like, I hear people all the time say, I used to be so good at X, Y, or Z. And it's like, but I don't do it anymore. So no, it's like, don't give up. If you're really interested in something and you're enjoying it and it's resonating with you and it feels aligned to your path, you should be pushing in and trying to add new tools and new practices to your repertoire and new ways of framing what you do and building a curriculum if you want to teach it, or offering specific packages if you want to coach it, right? And then finally, the fourth one for April in our work on Africa has been psychocartography. This is super rich for coaching because you can imagine a 1-hour session where you work, you have them give you their birth information before you meet, right? And again, I've given you kind of like the tip of the iceberg of psychocartography. Again, I would encourage you to keep studying, keep learning, keep expanding your understanding of those lines, the points where those lines connect. But you can connect this to past lives, right? You could do a partner reading where you look at the lines of the one partner and the lines of another partner and see if there's little synergies there, little places where they connect. So you could find partnership vortex locations. Can you imagine? I mean, I can imagine people really wanting to invest in that. Can you imagine a couple coming to you? This could be a whole career path. Couple comes to you and they want to get married and they want to know where's the best place for them to get married. And you would maybe look at his Venus line and his Venus line, or his Venus line and her Venus line, or their Venus line and their Venus lines, and see if there's overlapping points. Holy shit. I mean, wouldn't that be a cool one more service you provide? I get excited about it for you.
Would a person with the gift of psychocartography be inclined to help someone that may have lost something? Or does that fall into psychocartography as well?
It crosses a lot of lines.
Okay.
So I have a friend who does remote viewing. Okay. Remote viewing isn't necessarily something we're covering this year. But we're covering it in a few different ways. Remote viewing for me is clairvoyance meets psychocartography. Okay. Because what she used to do, she doesn't do this anymore, but what she used to do for the government is she would, they would give her coordinates and she would tell them what she saw there on the ground. Mm-hmm. And she had odd accuracy. And she's not the only one. There was like her and like 20 or 30 people who went through this training program in the 70s and kind of on the DL, you know what I mean? It wasn't talked about and stuff, but she was called in many times by our government in the United States to do remote viewing work and kind of give, and they trust her. So does that make sense that that's kind of a hybrid? Because clairvoyance is the ability to see clearly, right? And obviously her clairvoyance skills are off the charts. And then psychocartography, because you only had to give her coordinates. And then she could do like reverse viewing, right? So you could ask her where something was and she could try to provide coordinates for it. And those are very helpful, folks, in missing person cases. And then if you layer on, like, let's say you are a clairvoyant psychocartographer who's also is a psychometrist.
Whoa.
So that means if someone I love passed away and disappeared and I thought they were gone, I could give you one of their shirts. And in theory, you would be able to help me identify where they are, right? Because you would have a connection to the person through their clothing and then visually to the coordinates of the place they might be. I would think that's a very valuable skill to certain people.
Jennifer says, I tell people where lost things are.
Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Super cool. So people who are psychocartographers understand the energy of places and spaces even without knowing their history. Use astrocartography, also known as locational astrology, to locate power centers and spaces for ideal work, love, and abundance opportunities. Again, for manifestation. Somebody comes to you, where's the best place for me to manifest? What would you tell them? Which line would you have them look at? Right, for the best opportunities. And then, or where can I find love, right? And then number 3, you channel energy from the earth and work with ley lines and vortex points to receive energy in service of your goals. Yeah, it's true. They do, though. We don't often hear about it. I think it's because most people still kind of downplay, not as much as they used to when I was growing up, but most people still kind of downplay psychic and intuitive work until they don't. Until they have their own experience, and then, they don't have to be convinced anymore. Interesting. Jessica said, okay, I cannot recall exactly where I learned this, but apparently even after years and many washes, you could technically be cloned, I think you meant, using the cells from your old clothing. Well, holy shit. It's the last thing this planet needs is a clone of me. You get these purple chairs on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Aren't they cute? We probably have a link to them somewhere.
Cute. Rachel can
send us a link. They are very comfy.
I'll send her a message and see if she can send that to us. I need a new desk chair at home too.
It's comfy. I mean, I'm picky about, my butt and seats. I don't like uncomfortable chairs. Do you guys have any questions? First of all, let me just make sure. Is this clear as quartz or clear as black tourmaline? I just want to make sure it all makes sense. And not just the what of it, but the why of it. Like, why would psychic and intuitive gifts be important for manifestation? I think a lot of people don't put those pieces together, but for me, it's always been true, right? When I have manifested, it's been when I've been using my gifts, my intuition, my discernment. When I have not manifested, but just been trying so hard, but hitting my head against a wall, it's when I've been ignoring all of that. All of it. So, it comes down to honoring the intuition and then learning how to, in a way that supports you if you want to, learning how to package that as a service that you can provide, right? Quartz clear. Thank you so much. Let's see. What if you only vibe with one of the 4 gifts? So that's why it's really important, Jen. I'm going to say it again, as you may have missed this part when I was saying this earlier. We're only a third of the way through. So it's possible you don't vibe with any of these gifts and that all of yours come in August, October, and December. It's very possible. I haven't had anybody tell me they haven't vibed with any of them so far, but I just want to put that out there that even if you're like, none of these are me, I would be like, then we probably haven't hit you yet. So don't feel pressure. Like, I don't want you to feel like I've got to find something on here to circle if it's not natural to you, because you want to create space for your gift to appear later in the year. Can I talk more about how the second gift would help someone manifest, not by doing it as a job or service, but by helping yourself personally? There's a lot of different aspects to psychometry, right? One of the really interesting things that people do that always reminds me of manifestation and psychometry. I'm not advising that you do this, but they in some of the Asian cultures, they will actually go to someone's house who they admire or want to be like, and they will take soil from that person's house to connect to the vibration of the energy of that person and be able to align their frequency to that person. You've heard me talk about entrainment. And entrainment is very important for manifestation because as humans, one of the ways we manifest is by seeing or noticing what we want to create and aligning our frequency to that. And so psychometry is the act of doing that with a physical object, right? So if you want to use this to help yourself, you may want to, if there's someone that you really admire is doing something that you love, you may want to, have them anoint a stone for you and then work with the frequency of that stone to align to their vibration. There's other ways to do entrainment, but psychometry is definitely one way that you can. Let's see. It's an intentional entanglement. Yeah.
Lynn Pellick asked if we can give a refresher on different ways we can practice these gifts. I would say, for discernment, I think the way you practice that is by intentionally trying to see the soul and not the role. As we talked about a lot in January, I think this is one that you can kind of easily practice in your day-to-day life, right?
Well, one of the ways I described this, Lynn, back in January is that everything energetically has layers, like an onion, okay? We have layers as people, humans, your pets, buildings, cities, everything has layers of energy. And I always think of it like an onion because the outer layers of energy are usually younger and lighter, and the inner layers of energy around people, places, and things tend to be more dense and older, kind of like a cord, right? So what I try to do in practicing that gift of discernment, and again, let me just say, discernment's a huge gift. And discernment is, part of the way you can practice discernment is to ask yourself about to what extent you see a person, place, or thing clearly, right? Or are you seeing it the way you want to see it? And that's a hard question to ask yourself, but you can, if you're honest, tell yourself, yeah, I'm seeing that the way I want to, I'm not seeing it the way it is, and ask yourself some questions to get to the core of that. But what I do when I'm trying to see the soul and not the role is I will take a person, for example, and I will start to peel off the layers, okay? Dave, right? If I really want to see the soul, not the role, I'm going to take off, husband, father, right? Business partner, taking off all the layers and the roles and the ways that I know him, right? He was my work colleague for many years, and underneath all of that is the soul, right? And that soul, when you energetically allow yourself to see beyond these layers and these facades, because most of the time our roles are ways that we want people to perceive us. But sometimes too we don't want to just be seen as mom or seen as sister or seen as wife, right? Like sometimes we want to be seen as a soul. A lot of us crave actually being seen. So many of you, right? When you struggle to be seen, it's because most of the parts of your life are seeing you as a role. I mean, this is what I perceive anyway. And you're desperate to be seen as a soul, where it doesn't matter that you have kids and you're married and you live in Detroit, and you know what I mean? Like that underneath all of that, there's this core essence of who you are, and you desperately want someone to see that. And it's not just you, it's me and everybody else. Like love is actually the act of doing what I'm talking about. When you love someone, it's like, it doesn't matter whether they're a hardened criminal or a young child or make stupid choices, or you know what I mean? Those are all role. When you see the soul in someone and you can allow all of those layers to fall away, I'm clairvoyant, so I can actually, when I'm looking at someone, I actually get to a point where I can't see their face or their body or anything. It's like at some point, it's just soul to soul. And I know when I look at people like that, it makes them uncomfortable sometimes. So I'm conscious only to do it when I know it's okay with the person to look at them like that. But I can get so enmeshed in the soul work that I can't even see the body anymore. And people will say, well, do you remember what I was wearing yesterday? No, I don't. I was so busy in the soul that I don't remember what you were wearing, Whereas other people will be like, nope, you were wearing a black shirt off one shoulder with fringe. Because they're so focused on your role.
But the fringe is so cute.
Boots with the fur. I do have fringe. I'm obsessed with this shirt.
It's so cute.
I'm obsessed.
I can't help that it's the first thing I noticed about you today, Athena.
It is kind of cute, though. I'm trying to make it for Sage Goddess, because isn't this cute? Wouldn't you want that? It's got sleeves.
Yeah, it's super cute. But Lynn did want to know how to practice the other gifts as well. So for psychometry, yeah. I would suggest for psychometry, if you can't get out to actually look and feel at different older objects in person, you can do it through photos too. So if you're trying to practice that without going anywhere, I would suggest looking up ancient artifacts on the internet and seeing what you feel from them.
Go to a secondhand store, go to a museum.
Museums, yes.
As long as you're within 12 inches of an item, you are already in its energetic field. You don't have to touch the item to have the experience. Go to a cemetery.
Go to a friend's house.
Yeah. Go to if you're lucky enough to still have your parents. If you're extra lucky enough to still have a grandparent. Ask them to show you some of their favorite items from when they were a child and tell you all the stories. 1,000 ways to practice, right? And then the next gift of energetic blockage removal, I was sharing with you how to use your pendulum to sense blockages, right? You can use your hands. Your often for me, it's more my non-dominant hand, my non-writing hand that will get very warm where there's a blockage, and I can go in and use my Vogel to extract it. You can also use your body as a pendulum. We've talked about that too, that, when you're standing near someone and you're moving along their body, you can notice your own body will start to move, yes and no, and you'll start to sense the blockage that way too. And then psychocartography, again, 1,000 ways to practice, because I could be practicing psychocartography by walking out to the parking lot here, right? It's about making contact with the earth. Trees are a great way to practice psychocartography, because for me, trees are an extension of the earth's ley lines brought up through the roots of the tree so that we have vertical sort of almost like antenna. Trees are wise. Trees communicate with each other. I'm sure you know that. And so I think of them as sort of like pulling on the earth's own electromagnetic frequency, which is why so many people love to hug trees and things, right? It's such a powerful way to practice. Psychocartography, also you can practice by running charts for people that you know, and starting to learn more about the lines and the locations, and you'll probably start to, learn about some interesting overlaps and vortex points and see some patterns probably in the people around you too.
And then don't forget about crystals too. Which is
crystals
what
too, obviously.
All of Crystal Masters was about this month as well.
Mm-hmm. If you're evenly spread among them, how do you figure out what's strongest? If you come to me, Kim, in December and go, I'm 3 out of 3 on all 12. What I'm going to say is, what do you love? Because ultimately, if you're equally strong across them all, then your greatest gift is your greatest love, what you enjoy the most. And you might say, well, I have to say, for me, it's clearing energy. For my shaman, it is. My shaman calls himself the Roto-Rooter. And his passion is clearing energetic blockages in people's fields. He eats, sleeps, drinks it. So, yeah. That's a simple answer, but don't you think? If you have all of these gifts, then ultimately how you put them together, what you're going to prioritize is what juices you and gets you up in the morning. If you're very good at touching things and reading the energy, but you don't like it, then it's probably not really your greatest gift. It's an ability that you have, but it may not be your gift to the world, right? And so Laura, did you, I'm sure she said she's learning to read the energy of the different crystals. I'm sure you enjoyed Crystal Masters this month. That was really fun, through the golden thread, kind of allowing yourself to be taken back to the origin point, which is a great way to learn what the energy of your stones means for you. Because again, Judy Hall and me and Robert Simmons can all write these books and tell you what we think your crystals represent, but ultimately for you, it also has to resonate with what your lived experience has been. So,
Diana, the individual gifts aren't affecting the certificates.
Yeah. What were the titles that, again, officially it's Oracle. You're getting certified as an Oracle. You're getting certified, I don't want to give you the wrong word.
I'm going to pull it up right now.
But when you talk about your certification or on your resume, you can say that you are certified as an Oracle, or you can say I'm certified as a clairaudient psychocartographer, which,
it is.
It's true. And you can choose to customize your title, but your certificate will say Oracle. Yeah. Is this helpful, you guys, just to kind of go through this and get grounded in where we've been and where we are and where we're going?
Soul Shift Healer, Manifestation Guide, Oracle and Spirit Channel,
Oracle and Channel,
and Crystal Master level 1 or level 2 for Crystal Masters.
Okay, good. That was really helpful. Let's see. Ray says, what would this be? Walking down a street in New York, I felt it was very important to cross the street where I probably shouldn't. That's psychocartography. For me. Yeah, and that's also discernment. Yeah. The moment when you feel the energy of the crystal for the first time going up your arm is priceless. Yeah. And I still sometimes, get a huge zing when I'm near a certain crystal. And a lot of times, most of the time, it's like not anything that anybody else would really want. It's the super pretty, shiny, expensive crystals don't sing to me the way the dirty, not polished, not clear,
pulled straight out of the earth.
I think I told you that story. So before Rock Courier died, I was so lucky. You look back on certain times in your life. Some of you have these crystals too. I would really love to know if any of you have the crystal I'm describing. This would have been 8 years ago now. So you'd have to be OG. But he's the founder of Mindat, and I would go to his office, and he would kind of mentor me and teach me stuff, and then he would let me go run wild in his warehouse. And he didn't know what was in his warehouse. I mean, I would bring stuff out, and he'd go, "Where'd you find that?" "I mined that back in 1964 or whatever." I'm like going like this on the box, and it's just dust, right? Like an inch of dust. I would climb up on shelves and I don't even know. So one time I pulled these boxes down, and I opened the box, and these quartz points, which had never been cleaned, so they're covered in iron and soil, and I mean, just God's knows what. They're from Africa, and they had chlorite phantoms in them. I still have mine. It's packed up. I only kept one, I think, because customers wanted them. Oldest, dirtiest, most magical quartz thing I've ever laid my hands on, and I pulled it out, and I'm dusting off the box, and I'm showing it to him, and he's like, "Where'd you find that?" I always knew I found something good when he gave me the side eye. "Where'd you find that?" And then I was like, "There's 10 more boxes." So I bought them all. Do any of you have those? Do you remember those?
Is that the Namibian quartz?
Yeah, it's the Namibian. Yeah, do you remember those quartz phantoms?
I didn't keep a piece, but I do remember. Even the box itself, you guys, was dirty.
It was old. It had tape. You know when tape is so old, it cracks? It had cracked masking tape on it. Anyway, those kind of things never happen. And when he died, people came in and completely inventoried his collection, down to the piece and the size, the title and everything. So that would never happen now, right? They would not be like, "Where'd you get that?" So anyway, are there any questions online that we should speak to really quick before?
There were a couple questions on this post.
Melissa Hewitt, you have one? Holy shit, girl. I love that. I wish I had mine here. We could superpower them together.
Let's see.
It was juicy. When I finally get my office stuff unpacked, which God knows when that's going to be, but I will post it. And Melissa, if you have a picture, will you post it? Yeah, I'd like to see it again.
This one, I feel like these two questions are interwoven. So Kathy V said, "Would you review how to change energy in a room?" But before you do that, Carrie H said, "How do we feel shift change our energy if we struggle to feel energy?"
I'm thinking on how to respond to that last question. I was listening to my guides. Because what I'm feeling and hearing for you is you are reading energy, but you're not registering it. Which is kind of true to my experience too. People register energy in really different ways. Okay, like I said, when it's really deep, heavy, dark for me, my stomach turns. When I get very uncomfortable. And that's how I know. Some people get headaches. Some people get a ringing in their ear when there's energy that, it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings when the thing turns blue, and they know the bad people are close by, right? I think it's really about, first of all, working with your pendulum can teach you about energy, right? And at least get you to notice energy patterns, right? And then you can actually ask your pendulum, you can lay out like 10 stones and ask your pendulum, which one of these stones has the strongest energetic alignment for me, right? And then let the pendulum tell you, and then put the other stones away, right? Or leave the stones there, take your non-writing hand and put it over one of the weaker ones, and then the one the pendulum says is stronger. And another one of the weaker ones, and the one that my hand gets warm anyway, even if I'm not doing the thing, and go back and forth. Close your eyes, because remember, when it comes to sensing energy, it's so subtle, right? It's so subtle that, and your human senses make it all but impossible. So your human senses of sight and sound and touch, you need to close your eyes, put on some noise canceling headphones, and don't touch anything unless you're trying to sense the energy. That's also going to help, because if you're busy looking around the room and there's music blaring in the background, I mean, if your human senses are very active and you're trying to tap into a very subtle energy field, you can imagine that becomes a duel, right? It's a struggle between the physical and the spiritual. So that's a great question. When it comes to reading and shifting energy in a room, we've talked about so many different techniques over the years, truly, because there's, again, for all of these things, there's 1,000 ways to shift the energy in the room. One of the techniques that I've taught you guys recently that I've gotten so much feedback, especially in our Facebook groups, about, is the idea of sending energy down the 4 pockets, kind of like a pool table, right? So the first thing to do is when you come into a room, and if you sense the energy needs to be shifted, and this is super fast too, you can imagine that the 4 corners of the room are like pool pockets, okay? And literally, I like to visualize things, so I will say to my spirit guides, just to myself, I'm turning all heavy energy in this room indigo blue, and I'm sending it down the 4 corners. And again, I'm not saying anything. I'm talking to you, right? Hi, how are you? It's nice to see you. And in my mind, I'm like, I am now turning all dense energy blue and sending it down the 4 corners of this room, where it will be transformed and transmuted into the earth. And in its place, I am calling upon the divine white light of Archangel Michael, or whatever works for you, to fill all empty pockets of energy in this room. Amen, aho, and so it is. And meanwhile, I'm like, I know, I love this energy drink. I'm so glad you love it too. And you have no idea what I just did. Well, I mean,
like, excuse you, I'm the one that you talk to energy drinks about. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But I do want to point out that she does this without any tools.
Yeah, there's no tools. You're the tool. You can feel a difference when you're done. And you can do it anywhere, anytime, without saying a word and without having any tools. And you're just having a good old time at that party where the energy is just funk-tastic and you can't leave, right? Or Thanksgiving dinner with your family and you can't leave, right? And yet the energy has to be shifted. What I always say is, like, part of our job as intuitives and empaths is to become the thermostat, right? Not the thermometer. We're not here just to read the energy. We're here to shift and transform the energy. That's why usually when people have been doing their work for a long time, people will tell them, like, oh, please don't leave the party yet. Please, please, please. As soon as you go, it gets weird. Or when don't judge me, but I like to gamble and I'm really good at blackjack and I love playing in Vegas, and people, like, I'll get up to be done for the night and go back to my hotel room, and people will be like, no, as soon as you leave, that's all the energy is going to turn, right? So it's kind of fun once you learn to master the management. This is really energetic management skills, right? Once you learn to manage energy and take some responsibility for not only what you intuit and discern, but how you want it to be instead. And also what I like about that exercise, and of course Reiki, right? Like, thank you for mentioning Reiki, because if you are Reiki attuned, which a lot of you are, then you can use your symbols anytime, anywhere, and, you know. But I think the more you do this, it's like everything else. You get better, you practice, right? But what I like about the sending it down the 4 pockets exercise, for me personally, is that it's entrusting your guides with that work. You know, like whether you want to call in the Holy Spirit or Archangel Michael or, you know, I don't know, whoever you want to call in. Spice Girls to like bring in whatever energy, right? Like you're entrusting those energies to come in and transform and transmute on your behalf. So none of that is going through you. You're not saying, and through my body, I will clear this energy or whatever. No, you're like, I'm asking that the funk be taken. I'm asking that better arrives, and I'm thanking you in advance, right? Yeah. I'm freezing up.
She's not freezing up on our end, Cindy. It might be your internet.
Yeah.
I've been keeping an eye on you from mine and your.
Usually we will, because she watches at the same time. Usually we will let you know if it's freezing up. So you may want to just refresh or.
Yeah,
see.
our internet connection's pretty good from our end.
You should have. I really do recommend, and you don't have to have a gemstone tray just like mine, but I would recommend that you have one. You know, a lot of you have really nice tumbled and natural stone collections, and you have them in boxes and drawers, and, you know, get yourself one of those simple, mine is bamboo from Amazon. There, you can get one for $10, $15, $20, and lay your stones out, lay them in chakra order, because that way you'll be reading not just the stone, but the energy of the chakra, and choose a stone of the day every day. Get the gemstone flashcards and learn your stones, right? And then start to read the energy of them. Again, the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. And you'll be amazed at how your senses become more attuned. But reading the energetic field it's a very subtle practice. So for a lot of people where they're expecting like big neon signage kind of, you know, feedback, it's way more subtle than that.
Stephanie Kolb is asking, if you're trying to manifest with astrocartography, would you do this by living on / working on your abundance line? And what is this line called? Astrocartography isn't the intuitive gift. The intuitive gift is psychocartography.
Astrocartography is one part of psychocartography. Yeah. So it's not necessarily about living on that line. One of the things that we've talked about is you could even do a shamanic journey to some of the power places, right? Your Jupiter line is very important for serendipity and good luck and opportunity and good fortune, right? So what I would say is look at the major location points on your Jupiter line. And for me, that's what I would recommend. And then do a guided journey for yourself to that location and ask the land of that location to tell you its secrets for you and see what you get. Or, you know, set the intention before you go to bed that you'll start to get, you know, before you go to sleep each night, you'll start to get visions. Start doing research on those places. It's really interesting because that's what I do. I'm a researcher and I just love learning. And so a lot of the places on my Jupiter line, I've just been enjoying going and reading about them. And because it started to kind of also awaken some past life. I think there's a connection between those cartographic lines and past life gifts and wisdom as well.
This might be taking us in a completely different direction, so let me know if I'm getting derailed here. But if you think about holographic healing and how there are multiple versions of yourself all living in different timelines and universes, there is a version of you, I believe, that is living on your Jupiter line.
Oh, that's very interesting, Alexis.
So you could harness that energy as well, like maybe tap into that version of you that is receiving that energy. I read a really interesting book recently called The Midnight Library. I highly recommend all of you read it. It's fictional, it's a novel, but this woman, she's really unhappy. She tries to kill herself. And while she's kind of in that in-between state, she's taken to this library with an infinite amount of books. And there's this lady from her past that she's like telling her that each book is a different version of her life. And she's just talking about how every single choice she's made has created a different timeline, a different life. And she's able to go into her different lives and experience the different changes. And it, like I said, it's a fictional book, but it really reminded me of this work we do here in Soul Shift.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's reminded me a lot about holographic healing and type and tapping into that energy as well.
Yeah. Stephanie Cole, don't feel bad. I hope I didn't make you feel bad. I don't think there's any question that isn't worthy of being asked. So I hope you feel seen, because there's no, everything that we're talking about this year is complex in its own way, right? So, and if you're holding a question I say this all the time, but if you're holding a question, somebody else is probably holding the same question. So, yeah. Let's see. La la la. Anything else I can answer for you? Someone asked about the weight loss classes. What was the name of the series? I don't remember what we called it.
I'll look it up right now.
Renee says, some gifts I have as a medium, others only so far psychically. Do the mediumship gifts align with manifesting? I'm clairaudient as a medium. Well, for me, yes, for sure. I mean, it's just more ways that you gather and access information, right? From the spirit side. So for me, it's all connected, 1,000%. Let's see. What would it be called if you can feel in your body how someone died? Clairsentience. Yeah. People do have that gift. We do have a third eye pendulum coming for you next week, sterling silver one. It's lapis and tanzanite. It's super pretty. It's I don't have one to show you, but it finally arrived. We designed it, feels like a decade ago. But it finally has arrived. Will gratitude and mindfulness strengthen our gifts? I think gratitude and mindfulness strengthen everything. I think so. I think it's about intention and repetition too. It really is it really is just about, because eventually it will become also part of your habit to intuit and to gather information in these ways. For right now, you're having to kind of consciously think about it. When it becomes, what I like to call muscle memory, which it really isn't muscle memory, but let's see. Yeah, the pendulum is super pretty. Which order do I need to put my chumpy stones under my bed to help me sleep and direction? I do them, I start with one and I go clockwise. Because remember, you're opening a circle. So anytime you're working with anything, at least for me, Martha, anytime you're working with anything and it's numbered, going clockwise is considered opening a circle. Yeah. So gut feelings, again, Marlene, are going to be clairsentience and also claircognizance. And I say that because gut is gut and cognizance is cognizance. So, a gut is a feeling, so that's a clairsentience, but just a knowing is claircognizance, a clear knowing. So this is just a beginning. This is really just, like I said, this is the first of 3 separate sessions we will have over the course of the year to kind of do once. It's not even quarterly. It's more like every third of the year we're going to review the last 4 gifts, and then at the end of the year we'll kind of do a refresh on all 12. You will rank them, and then we're going to help you come up with your title, right? Because you'll have your certification, but what you also want to have is your title, and your title won't be on your certificate, but it will be something that you can use on your resume and business cards and things that you want to do. Yeah. I think we should give Soul Shift the first option of the pendulum, don't you? Or maybe Crystal Masters.
Sure. Whichever one do you want to do? Crystal Masters?
We'll do Crystal Masters.
For what pendulum?
For the lapis and tanzanite pendulum that's coming up on the roadmap.
Got it.
We'll give first notice to Crystal Masters. I don't want you to feel obligated, but I don't want you to miss it if you want it. And I sincerely cannot recall what day it is that it's coming. It's soon, but it's not there yet. So the most important thing for you to get today while we have it is Tibetan Enhydro. So we have been able to work directly with the person who mines Tibetan Enhydros, but even with that direct relationship, which is really cool because they haven't been traded around a bunch, even with that direct relationship, we're getting to the bottom of our supply. So if you would like a Tibetan Enhydro quartz, have they restocked them? They're supposed to by 6. I don't know if that actually happened.
Let me check right now.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be before everybody leaves today. So if you wanted one, the code is ELEMENT for 22% off. Okay. We are working on more sterling silver pendulums. I don't think we're going to go back and repeat the original design because I have other designs I want to do. And they are so expensive to make. I mean, I know they're expensive to buy, but they're radically expensive to make too. So I'm so glad. All right, you guys. So cheers. Have a great rest of your evening. Karen, thank you for being there on the
Thank you, Karen.
back end.
We love you.
We love you very much. And so the next time you will see me is, I don't know, I don't have my, we have session 4, our last session of Africa. Can you believe it? Holy shit. Coming up on Wednesday of next week. So I think that might be my next time live with you, unless I'm forgetting something. Yeah, the pendulum that's coming, I think it's in the $100 range. Maybe it's $150, but it's not as expensive as the others. So it's a little more affordable, which is pretty good. So if you've been looking for a more affordable sterling silver pendulum, because some of the ones we've done have been bigger, but they've also been like $350. This one's going to fit in your budget a little bit better. And then if you guys like the smaller ones, we'll keep designing them. I just thought it'd be kind of nice to do something different and something a little more portable. You know what I mean? So you let us know what you think, and we'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your evening. Oh, Beltane, yeah. Beltane. Yeah, so we have a lot of weekend events coming up, but we do have the Beltane. So stay tuned. Lots of magic there. All right, you guys, have a great evening. We'll see you soon. I'll be back with you midday tomorrow, and she will too for the Earth Gateway
We're
ceremony.
having a drum circle, so be
Drum
sure
circle
to join
tomorrow.
us tomorrow.
Drum circle tomorrow. All right, we'll see you then.